Um, so do you think that science is unified in their stance with COVID? Like, do you think that they're all sort of on the same page, or is there different pages?
I think like there's been a lot of flip-flopping around about like how, I mean, with something that's like a novel like this, it's hard to figure out like what is the correct measures to take and what isn't, but there's just been way too much flipping and flopping around. And honestly, like at this point, I feel like we have a decent amount of the population vaccinated. And I'm glad to start seeing things being reopened. The CDC just put out, I think last week it was, saying that if you're outside and you're at least still 6 feet apart, you can take your mask off, which I think is a big step, because I was actually talking to one of my professors about this, and it's almost like now you have people that do not care at all and don't want to wear the masks. And then you also have the opposite extreme where there's people that never want to take the masks off at all. And to return to some type of normalcy, you have to be like, there has to be some type of happy medium, right? Like you have to have those people that are like mask shaming people to be able to be the ones to also take off their masks. And you have to have the people that literally don't give a single fuck about anybody else but themselves be responsible enough to, if they're not vaccinated, actually take some type of precaution. And actually, before I was looking something up, I was reading this article that was published, and it talked about how framing, the way that you are framed, the information you receive affects like how like you react to it. So like for example, like what the authors concluded, it was actually really interesting. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. um oh, here. So this was very interesting. Exposure to, as we are talking about the conspiracy theory, exposure to a conspiracy theory about the virus's origin in isolation or in competition. And by what they mean by that is if you're only receiving information that relates to the origin of the conspiracy theory, or if you're getting various theories about the origin, like you're being exposed to the ones we just talked about in our podcast. It resulted in a quote unquote conspiracy effect whereby the individuals became less likely to view actions such as wearing masks, frequently washing hands, and maintaining social distance as necessary in order to mitigate COVID-19's response. And in addition to also the same thing with the framing also played a role in how people perceived, like how China should be, um, how do I guess involved in like a reparation, so to speak, type thing. But and they felt like animosity and fear towards them. And I think that we actually are seeing that like throughout our daily lives. I mean, I see it on my news feed and Instagram feed all the time about all these Asian hate crimes that are coming and starting to pop up. And at least, well, I mean, they've been around since the beginning, right? But now they're finally starting to gain some traction in the media. And I think that we see like this conspiracy theory leading to a bunch of things that we're now seeing in our society.
So one of the things is like with the lab theory, and that it started from a lab, is a lot of people say that theory is racist
Interesting. Why
because
is that?
because they say like, oh, you're blaming the Chinese scientists for creating like the disease, or making the mistake that led to the pandemic. But I just really don't. I don't really care like what race they are. They made
Yeah.
the mistake anyway. You know, like
I mean, yeah, like what you're saying makes sense. Like you're just talking about them as scientists, not
yeah.
talking about them as Chinese people.
Bro, but they're saying that like, oh, if you entertain that idea, like it's gonna ramp up like the Asian hate. And I'm like, I think that Trump saying the China virus or the Kung flu has
Yeah.
more of a profound effect
It
on
was
that.
so bad, so bad. And they actually do. They even cited that in the article, how Donald Trump coined it the China virus. Like, and that's like the type of information, the one-sided information that they were trying to get at, which is
Mhm.
obviously, I mean, even without having a scientific article about it, I'm pretty sure just from our own personal experiences, we could have came to the same conclusion. But yeah. Um, But like in regards to the overpopulation thing, do you think it's a big problem? I mean, I know we got the COVID-19, we were talking about COVID-19, but just in general, what do you think about overpopulation in general? Let's open this can of worms.
So I'm here to discuss hypocrisy here. All right. So it's gonna be funny, right? So um scientists and doctors, they want to save lives, right?
Yeah.
They also recognize that overpopulation's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So
I
why
like where this is going. Right into my line of thought here.
so why are we trying to save people that are dead and gone?
Bingo, baby. That's what I'm saying. Nah, that's so messed up.
It's messed up, but you have to hear us out here. You have to hear us out.
I wait, my theory kind of branches off this in a little different direction, I feel like.
I think that mine was, I mean, it probably wouldn't have been I really don't think that this is any way that you could say like that, like, I mean, like, Trump came under fire for saying like people just need to die, like that, like, you obviously don't want to say that, and you don't want it to be someone close to you. And there are people that lost their parents and grandparents to COVID, and that's unfortunate. Um, but death is a part of life. No matter how it comes, it's really just on the chance that, I mean, it is like an insurance of, like, if you work out, if you're healthy, whatever, that's stuff that gives you a plus to deal with anything. Unless you get hit by a car, because there's no, as big as Luke is, if he gets hit by a car, he's probably gonna die.
I
So
don't know, dude. I may send that car to the junkyard. I'm kind of built like steel, bro. They may crumple at the pure, just driving at me. It may just crumple before it even gets close to me.
so basically, what I'm trying to say
Plus, I
here,
have the power of the force.
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that if it wasn't COVID, something else would have gotten them, most likely.
Probably eventually. I think where I kind of go off with the overpopulation thing is that like, and I'm sure I probably said this in an earlier episode, but it's something that I kind of truly believe in. And I actually have like I just kind of like was thinking about this earlier today, and I actually came out like with another like kind of interesting like kind of mental health kind of point of view that also kind of like ties into overpopulation. And in like in the past like years, and I know I've said this before, but our life expectancy has drastically increased. And like in the US, I think it's like somewhere like around 75. In Canada, it's like it's like in the 80s. And like the lowest age now is like 45, I think, and that's in some I think it's like 45 to 55 are the lowest life expectancies, and those are in some countries in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like even if you think about that number, like if you go back like 100, couple hundred years, 200 years, like 45, 55 was deemed old. Now we're like that's like our parents' age. Like it's like we're 20 years old and our parents are 55, 60, and you're like, damn, like they're still young, like they're not old. They're not about to like just croak, right? So like we've made so many advances in medicine that has like branched our life expectancy so much longer that like it obviously like I was saying we need more room. We need other areas to inhabit like it to habit, right? Inhabit. Um and that brings us back to the whole thing like how COVID and nature and everything like that. But I think one of the other things that I find about this is that I was thinking about to myself, and even I do the same thing. It's like because we have this like idea, this concept of life expectancy being so long, we're like, oh yeah, like like I still have years to do that, and like people are like constantly stuck in doing things that they don't want to do because they're like, oh, it's just temporary. Like I'll get out of this in the next year or so, and then I'll move on and do my dream. Like I'll go out and chase my dreams or whatever. And like I feel like that has a big toll on our mental health. And like it's obviously a very abstract point because it's not directly tied to overpopulation, but just the idea of living long in general. It's like damn, it's like you have like 50 years left of your life, but like little do you know, like you could die at 40, you could die at 35, and like it's just like this like mainstream concept that we're going to live so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I feel like it affects a lot of people and makes like people feel like more depressed. I think it leads to more depression in the current like times now.
I can see
I
that.
don't know.